Hello and welcome to our pitch for our horror trailer. I'm Melissa.
And I'm Louise. So, in our presentation, we will be discussing how existing trailers have inspired us for our own trailer, theories that we may use in our trailer, and we will be reflecting on how our research has impacted on our planning.
So the first inspiration we got was from the trailer viral for the plot of our horror trailer. So the similarities to this trailer is we're going to have like the infection horror subgenre, which is like the idea of the human race being infected by something. In our case, zombies or the period. They feature a national warning in this trailer, which we're going to do the same. And the idea of being trapped in a building to avoid the infection and the use of teenagers. So it's going to be set in a school, so it's going to have that whole idea of just being trapped inside the school with the kids. The differences are obviously set in a school instead of house and city. We won't have the gore element because we found from our research that using way too much gore makes it look more comical than it does scary. And we won't have extreme action shots like shooting guns and stuff because that's not how we want to go with our trailer. And we won't follow the sci-fi subgenre.
So we also looked at the inspiration for our themes, and we chose The Walking Dead for our inspiration. The similarities were that we chose the idea of everything changing and suddenly have to have a survival element to it. We also kept themes of isolation, so we want to put a lot of running and escaping in it to make it more dramatic. But the differences that we didn't want to keep was instead of the main character waking up and realising what's going on, it'll just happen in the trailer, so they'll be told what's going on. We also want to change that they're trapped in a school rather than a city, so we want to make it even more isolated than The Walking Dead was.
Our inspiration for editing was from the trailer Dawn of the Dead. So in Dawn of the Dead, towards the beginning of the trailer we're going to use similar shots because there's a lot of like jump cuts and fades into the narrative as well as like continuity editing. It's a lot very fast paced, which is what we want to use to like build up the like suspense to have a big impact towards the end for the audience. But the difference is we'll put the titles closer to the end rather than throughout, so you get more, the audience see more of the action rather than being cut up to put in titles, and we won't use the rolling shutter effect that's used at the end of the trailer.
We were also looking at inspiration for our sound, and we thought that the World War Z trailer had really effective sound. What we wanted to keep was that the impact of sounds that they used. So they used a lot of big, loud crashes in the middle of like dramatic scenes, and I think this is going to like make our jump shots even scarier. We also want to use the use of silence before these large impacts because we found that it seemed even more isolated, and then the impact sound made it more effective as a result. The differences that we don't want to keep are obviously we don't want any explosions and gunshots because we're not obviously going to use those sort of things because it wouldn't be realistic to a school environment. And we want to use more diegetic sound in our trailer.
So inspiration for the mise-en-scene we've taken from Carrie. Similarities we'll keep is obviously it's going to be set in a school using a lot of low key lighting, which is like a convention of the horror genre, and we're going to have minimal use of props because we don't require that much because it's going to be more focused on the characters, and the costumes will reflect the time period. So obviously it's 2016 and it's going to represent like the 21st century. But the differences are we won't use any other locations in the school, so we won't have the characters go into someone else's house, or it's all based on trying to like escape the school.
So we also looked at the theories that would influence our trailer, and we decided that all three of the theories that we looked at were applicable to our trailer because they all had an element that would be important to what we want to show. So the first one was Todorow's narrative theory, and we wanted to show the state of equilibrium, so we'd have the students in the school just doing their work like it's a normal day. We'd have disruption when they're told what's going on, that there's a national warning of the zombies escaping, and recognition, so the students would realise that they need to find a way to survive in the school and try and escape in the end.
We also used props, character types. We don't have that many because we don't have heroes and stuff, but we've just kept the princess and the villains. So obviously the princesses will be the students of the school because they're the victims of what's going on, and the villains are obviously the zombies because they're the ones that are trying to take over the human race.
We also used Levi Strauss's theory of binary opposition, and we looked at the living versus the dead, so the students versus the zombies, and teenagers versus zombies. We wanted to put a big emphasis on teenagers because of the subgenre that we were aiming for. I mean, the target audience that we were aiming for.
And if by using teenagers, it makes it a lot more relatable and therefore more effective on the audience. So, influence from our research, we've been influenced from our horror timeline, the analysis of the trailers that we did when we looked at the do's and don'ts of horror trailers and our horror questionnaire. So, throughout the horror timeline, we found out that from the 1960s to now, the zombie genre has become a lot more popular. So, for example, The Walking Dead is a very popular one, this year and from previous years. Through the analysis of trailers and the do's and don'ts of horror, we found out what's best to use in a trailer and what will make it more effective depending on the genre that we're using, which is the horror genre. And the horror questionnaire we've given out to our target audience, and we found out the things they like. So we didn't necessarily get the idea of the zombie kind of subgenre from the questionnaire, but we got the idea that they prefer the supernatural, the types of editing techniques they prefer. So a lot of jump cuts, a lot of impact sounds, and how we're gonna just add in elements of what they like around subgenres of the zombies.
So our idea was that we were gonna obviously use zombies in our trailer, and at the start of our trailer we were gonna have students in a state of equilibrium in their class. And then suddenly the news flash of what's going on in the world will come up on the screen as an alert, and they'll be made aware that there's a zombie attack on the school. So we put here that we wanted them to see that it's a zombie epidemic, so it suddenly just becomes serious straight away. We want the audience to then see a news footage of what's going on in the world, so that they're made aware as well after that. And then we want to have a group of students